This episode is all about what is going on in Ohio, specifically Columbus, Ohio, and Franklin County, Ohio. Let's go ahead and get things started right now. So, Ohio landlords are surpassing the CDC restrictions on evictions in hopes to get first priority on rental assistance. Rather than close eviction courts, Franklin County Municipal Court moved to the Columbus Convention Center. This is where they heard up to 250 eviction cases per day. The worst part about this is that landlords actually think they're doing their tenants a favor by expediting the process of receiving federal rental assistance. The evictions are happening for people who don't show up to court. The people who do show up to court are people getting assistance, says Dimitri Hostafontanos, managing partner at Willis Law Firm, a Columbus firm that represents the Columbus Apartment Association and the owners of more than 175,000 rental units across 40 counties. The irony of this is, around here, you really are a lot more likely to get assistance in eviction court. Federal relief funds are distributed by Impact Community Action. With the undersupply of federal aid requiring a means-tested approach for the distribution of rent relief, what better way to determine the merits of need than to see who's getting evicted, right? A memo from the Willis Law Firm dated March 11th, and it is available on Columbus's Apartment Association's website as well, advises landlords who are eager to get a federal bailout for renters in arrears to move immediately to evictions. This was the case for Jamanda Colbert, whose wife lost her job in February of 2020 and received an eviction notice on May 5th, 2020. Their hearing for court was scheduled on June 16th. All of this time, I have been trying to get this emergency assistance, Colbert said. On June 16th, when she was due in housing court, a case manager for Impact Community Action, a Columbus nonprofit that is the steward of several $1 million in funds for rental assistance under the CARES Act, was also on hand at the convention center. The case manager informed Colbert that she had forwarded the family's approved application for $3,000 to the leasing manager for confirmation. We were behind on March, April, May, June, and we have a late fee for each of these months. This swift action by Impact did allow Jamanda to stay sheltered in place, which is great. And let's be honest, this was before the CDC moratorium took effect. Luckily, the CDC did reinstate the moratorium on evictions.
Questions and confusions for renters across Ohio. Franklin County Municipal Court will not follow the CDC's recent eviction moratorium. The CDC approved a new eviction order this week to temporarily halt evictions in counties with substantial and high levels of COVID-19 spread. The Franklin County judge cited a July ruling by the Court of Appeals that found that the CDC lacked authority.
The good news is that emergency rental assistance is available for folks who are having trouble paying their rent. Ohio has $1.5 billion from the federal government to help them pay off arrears and get square with their landlords. Emergency rental assistance can cover up to 12 months of arrears, and it can also cover 3 months going forward.
Now, the CDC has argued it's a public safety concern to let evictions continue.
Apparently, this notice was put out on August 5th that the Franklin County Municipal Court had to adhere to these standards that were put into place by the Circuit Court through the Court of Appeals. That's not necessarily the case. Municipal courts don't have to follow the decisions made by a circuit court per se, only if they were striking down an original case that was imposed by a municipal court. That's not the case here. At any rate, all tenants right now who are behind on rents could be subjected to appear in eviction court. Unfortunately, most tenants are at the mercy of the state and their distribution process for these allocation of funds. Just 7% of the $565 million designated for Ohio in the first round of emergency rental assistance reached Ohio renters by the end of June. Less than 1% of the funds set aside for Franklin County and Columbus were delivered. Landlords are taking their tenants to court, but there really is no guarantee that these funds are distributed in a timely manner. Let's go ahead and go to the data portion to break down the specific numbers in Franklin County, Ohio, to get a better understanding of what these evictions look like. 17,000 evictions during a 16-month process. What does this even look like? So this is the map of the total number of evictions that have taken place from August 2020 to July 2021. One location filing 17,000 evictions means that there was definitely an accessibility issue with getting to the Columbus Convention Center. Look at the number of total court cases filed in March 2021, when the Realtors Association added that memo to go ahead and proceed with evictions to expedite the process of receiving rental assistance from your tenant. An estimated 59,000 renter households owe back rent in Ohio, with arrears averaging $5,100. So despite financial hardship, specifically in Franklin County, landlords moved forward and processed as many evictions as possible. And this is the geographical location of first named plaintiffs who sued their tenants for non-payment. Tenants like Jamanda Colbert did luck out and receive financial assistance during the time that evictions were held in the convention center. But the process itself did not come to a halt. Thousands of people were kicked out of their home during this time of financial precarity and during COVID-19. I'm officially in recovery mode. Let's move it on. I gotta give it to our young activist on the ground who tried to fight back against the injustice of keeping eviction courts going nonstop in Franklin County. During the height of evictions this summer, Columbus Stand Up, a housing coalition of young leftists, held a rally to promote awareness of the growing unhoused population. Speakers for the event included formerly unhoused individuals to share their experience to put a face to the issue of homelessness. The Housing Coalition also laid out 5 demands to government officials. First, to implement an emergency rent stabilization ordinance, which would allow landlords to increase rent only once per year and not exceed a set percentage. Stop evictions from mandating an eviction diversion program. Increase affordable housing supply by demanding developers devote 50% of new units to those making $30,000 or less. The city of Columbus devote 30% of its annual budget directly to those experiencing houselessness, and increase representation of houseless folks by making 50% of Columbus's Affordable Housing Trust Board people who have experienced houselessness before. I commend the efforts of this organization for utilizing the tools of direct action to promote the awareness of the growing housing and homeless epidemics currently favoring profit over people. People like Chelsea Rivera, who showed up to eviction court on Monday after receiving an eviction notice last month. She filled out an online form to take advantage of the moratorium, but it was too late for her. She's behind $2,988 in rents and late fees for the 1-bedroom apartment she rented for herself and her 3 sons. The 27-year-old said she struggled with rent after her hours were cut in May at the suburban Columbus Walmart warehouse where she works. She's applied to numerous agencies for help, but they're either out of money, have a waiting list, or not able to help until clients end up in court with an eviction notice. Rivera said she's preparing herself mentally to move into a shelter with her children until her situation improves. "We just need help," she says. Fighting back tears, she added, "It's just been really hard with everyday issues on top of worrying about where you're going to live." So a couple things that I want to go back and highlight to talk about how this is a morally bankrupt gambit that was played by landlords, attorneys, and judges who presided over these eviction cases. First, there was no need to continue on with hearing court cases of eviction. Most major cities did close down eviction courts altogether, not move to a bigger venue. Most eviction courts did not make it easier for landlords to sue their tenants. Most municipal courts are not adhering to the judgment made by the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals that the CDC moratorium was unconstitutional. And a formerly evicted tenant has a lot more issues with trying to find new housing. It's going to impair a tenant's ability to perhaps rent again in the future if it's going to be on their application, if they're blacklisted. So you're not doing them any favors. You're actually impairing their ability to move freely. There is no way to make formative changes to a system that does not care if poor people live or die. We have to fight back and find a way to empower ourselves and our community in a way that we have never been able to accomplish. We need a broader coalition of working class individuals fighting back against this incredibly oppressive system. We need leaders who are looking to empower their communities, to help build this network of power that can lead to, maybe one day, real systemic change. One final thing that I wanted to end this video on was a short snippet on how to apply for rental assistance if you are in Franklin County. Whenever I was researching the application process, I found it very difficult to move through the proper channels that eventually led to the link for the application itself. And that being said, we have concluded our episode of Housing News with Amy C3. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.